All right, the time is now 9:15. I think we're officially starting the session. What I do want to start out with is a message from our sponsor. This session is sponsored by Eldritch Web Solutions. They've specialized in e-commerce for distribution for over 20 years, delivering built-in-house integrations to Acumatica, removing clunky integration frustrations and boosting online sales. From transparent order tracking to advanced analytics, their robust features help you stay ahead and in a competitive market. They measure their customer success in minutes, not days, delivering unrivaled responsiveness to keep your business moving. With a 90-day implementation timeline, they're committed to getting you selling faster than ever and generating real results. With Web Alliance, their powerful e-commerce platform, online invoice payment portal, PIM, and a user-friendly app, they're transforming the way distributors do business. All right, let me share my screen so that you guys can see some of my notes and the N8N platform itself. Introduction. I'm Robert Waite. I'm the acuMatica Developer Manager here at NetAtWork. I am also a active member in the acuMatica Developer All Stars program. I'm also a charter member for the acuMatica Developer Advisory Board. So the topic today is N8N and how you could automate tasks within Acumatica using the contract-based API. It's going to be a very high-level discussion. We don't have time to really get into like examples and whatnot. What I want you guys to really walk away with is an idea of what N8N is, and what you could potentially do with the product and how it can facilitate automation tasks. Why AI and Acumatica? There's just a rising demand for automation and augmentation. AI is moving fast. It's evolving very fast. And there's just countless tasks that everybody needs to do on a daily basis that can be easily picked up by an AI agent. So this reduces manual work and improves decision making. And with Acumatica automation hooks, such as the contract-based API, you're able to get in and define tools for an AI agent to automate some sort of task. So what is N8N? N8N is a automation platform. This is it could be hosted in a couple different ways. They do have a paid service that you can buy into where they take care of all of the maintenance and stuff. There's also you could run it locally on your machine as well. It is open source software. There's no cost to hosting it on your local machine and using it for personal reasons or purposes and so forth. And then there's also ways that you could host it yourself up in a web server of sorts, or you can just buy one of their services and have it run up in the cloud, and that's the easiest route to go, and you don't need to maintain stuff at the end of the day. So it's an event driven, it's low code in design, so you don't need to be a developer to really be able to use it and create AI agents. What is going to help is an understanding of like API calls and REST APIs and any skills that you have in terms of HTTP requests is going to go a long way to automating stuff. They've got all sorts of stuff that's pre-baked as well, and we're going to go through a handful of pre-baked nodes that you can add in. And why N8N fits Acumatica? Well, it's extensible and modular. Ultimately, anything that's got a REST API hooked into it, you can interface this tooling into it. Contract-based API, in particular, is your go-to in terms of getting something automated with that within Acumatica. And this really bridges data services and AI agents together. So, I mean, real world examples, it could be automating order intake. You can have N8N, you could configure it so that you can give an AI agent a tool that can access a email account. And you could say, hey, go find any emails that were recently sent in with some order request information, and you could construct a prompt that will take that email and using the contract API, you can build a tool within the agent to create that order for you. There's countless places where you can get some real world examples. Like you can feed it some OData in terms of one of your GIs that you've created, and now that AI agent, if you give it access to that GI via OData, you're going to be able to allow it to use it as a source of information to prompt some sort of automation or prompt some sort of result that's going to give you some meaningful insight to allow you to make better decisions. So AI agents versus workflows. So there's two different types of agents that you can, or ways that you could facilitate automation. One is a workflow where you just kind of have nodes set in here. Let me. So you could chain off a whole series of things. If you're familiar with Power Automate products like Make, Node-RED, what are a couple other? Zapier is one as well. It's very much on par with what you have in terms of that. What really sets N8N apart, however, is its AI agent node. So we can we have advanced AI here, and we can set something up where we can create an AI agent tool. And that's going to look something like this here. I don't know how this got there, but you have an AI agent tool in here. There's a whole load of different types of large language models that you can interface to it. There's Anthropic. I think pretty much everybody knows OpenAI. There's Azure OpenAI, Google services, Grok, whatever your favorite large language model is, you're probably going to be able to use it within one of these agent tools. So you have the decision as to like what service you're going to actively use. And in order to use an N8N AI agent, you're going to need to set up an API key on your account. Generally, these guys are going to be charging for the API usage. This isn't going to be included in your like $20 a month or the $200 a month for the Pro. None of that's included in any of those services. You kind of just pay for the services a la carte. I mean, the good thing is you're talking about pennies for this service, and really the cost is very nominal in terms of engaging some of these services, and they're getting less expensive over time as well. I mean, there's always rapid advancements, and there's mini versions of a large language model that you can wire in, and so forth. So I have an account already set up, so I can just select it in here, and this thing is now actually wired into to use a OpenAI chat model. In order to use AI, you're going to want to give it some memory. More often than not, you're just going to go to simple memory. This is essentially kind of RAM sort of memory. If the service is restarted, any of that memory is going to disappear during that reset. You want to kind of just give it some context as to how far back you want to go. How far back you go kind of is going to play in terms of cost as well, because every time you engage that AI service, it's going to, that amount of tokens that you consume with the AI service is going to increase. So there's different types of memory in here. Let me clear this out. You can wire into a database and send the history to a database. So if you have a AI agent that really needs to retain the context of any previous engagement, you're going to want to wire it into a database type tool in there. And you got a handful of other types of memory that you can use in there. Do you have to set up a memory? You don't. But the reality is, like, if you're creating a chatbot, it's not going to remember any of the context from the previous conversation. We're all familiar with, or most of us are familiar with, engaging a chat service such as ChatGPT, and it remembers what the context of that conversation in the past, and this is what you need to get it wired up is a memory node in here. And then the what the AI agent needs at this point too. This, you don't necessarily have to have a tool wired up into it, but if there is no tools, the AI agent node really isn't the ideal way of working through something that doesn't need tools. But ultimately, the tools at the end of the day, these are the services that you're going to grant the agent access to. So this could be emails within your email account. You might want to send it to your open emails. You might want to flag up emails with a certain type to allow, or a tag of sorts to give it a prompt in terms of hey, go look for these types of emails and do some sort of task based on them. So, like, I have a couple nodes in there where I get emails with, like, Excel spreadsheets. I say, okay, here's a tool. You're going to look for emails with this type of signature within the subject line. They're often going to be coming from these types of people, and it's going to have an attachment in it for, like, an Excel spreadsheet. I want you to go into that Excel spreadsheet and do some sort of task. So you can do that there. You can wire things into databases. If you have a local instance, you got a local database or an Access database, SQL Server, what have you, you're going to be able to wire into that local service and facilitate some sort of stuff. So you can have, like, either a SQL view set up and you could say, hey, look for records with this type of information. That's going to be all defined within the tool definition, and then in your master prompt, which essentially goes into there's so the source. So the prompt that you set in here is going to be like the main prompt that the AI agent is going to use to facilitate something, and then it's going to call out to whatever tools that you define. So HTTP request tool, this is kind of your Swiss Army knife for anything that can be automated via an API call. There's code tools. If you are familiar with JavaScript or Python, you're able to write some code to make something happen. And then what you can also do is send it in, create a whole nother workflow and call that workflow as a tool as well. And you get into these scenarios where if you have a complex process that needs to be done, you're going to want to divide and conquer, and you're going to want to create many agents, each agent doing one job really, really well. And then you're going to create what's called an orchestrator agent or an orchestrator workflow that's going to call into those as tools to facilitate some sort of job. There's all sorts of like if you are fond of Airtable and you have a bunch of Airtable stuff, you can wire directly into Airtable. We use Monday internally as our project management system. I got stuff that wires into our Monday system. One of the things that I like to do with AI agents is like I need to really sift through the noise of correspondence, and I need to get like a heads up sort of summary, executive summary of what's going on in terms of any given ticket. So I'll define a tool that allows it to go in and find any correspondence information, um, and define that as a tool. Like, and I'll just say, hey, can you assess the correspondence that's accessible via this tool, and give me a high-level summary of what's changed since I've last been updated on this particular thing. This gives me the ability to get in and get a high-level overview in terms of what's actually happening on that ticket without having to sift through countless updates and a long thread of commentary at the end. And you could weave in like other information as well to kind of just get a summary as to like what's going on with any particular ticket. So it's one way that I actively use API calls and so forth. And in terms of Acumatica, you spin up a tool that's going to be one of these HTTP request tools, and you're going to wire it directly into like an OData generic inquiry. Like you might have custom generic inquiry, you check on the box to expose it to OData. You get it properly configured in here to get that information, and then now your agent has access to that information in that GI. If you need to have the agent create orders based on some form of input, you're going to be able to give it one of those HTTP request tools that will take variables from the AI agent and send that order to be created. And then you're essentially defining a tool to create those orders and so forth. If you need to create item numbers, the same sort of thing. Updating records, or processing records too. Like there's so many different things that you can do with the contract-based API that's going to allow you to automate something. So this is a very high level of what the agent is. We'll go into topics of triggers and so forth, but let me just go back to my notes to kind of see if I've covered stuff. So we talked about agent workflow. So the difference between an agent and a workflow is, let me show you a real super quick example. So your trigger node is essentially going to be the most basic type of trigger. This is essentially you're going to check, tick a button, and it's just going to trigger something off. But one of the things that we do have is you can. So a workflow doesn't necessarily have to include a large language model. You can use all sorts of logic paths. We'll get into, hopefully, if we have enough time, we'll get into the types of nodes that you can send things down. But these are just a general low code, no code sort of approach to automating something. One of the things that you can do is you can still interface a large language model into a workflow. The primary difference between this and an AI agent is you're gonna dynamically construct the entire prompt. You're gonna take a very deterministic approach to the prompt. You're going to be using nodes and such to build a complete prompt, and then you're going to send it in, and you're going to get a result based on whatever that prompt is. The prompt is not dynamic in this sort of way, where you're giving the AI system tools. This is just kind of like an inline sort of thing where, okay, here's the prompt. I want to get and you construct how you want to get output on that, and then essentially you're going to get a string value out of the ends, and you're going to be able to send things on the way. So that kind of articulates like the difference between like automation workflow versus AI agent tools. And so an agent is going to be given tools. You're going to give it the ability to make decisions in terms of how it's going to accomplish the job. If you use the alternate approach, you're going to have that whole prompt structured, and you're not going to give the AI service any leverage in terms of like how it does its thing. You're just going to be exact in terms of how that's going to flow through the system. All right, let me go back to my notes, see what I missed. Okay, so Acumatica contract based API. Let's talk a little bit about this, because if you do intend to interface AI agents to Acumatica, this is the tooling that you're going to need. Ultimately, at the end, what you're going to want to do is you want to take the course material on uh, the integration specialist. So this isn't necessarily development; it's very closely related to development, but we got plenty of non-developers that are pretty savvy with the contract-based API. One of your go-tos here is you want to get the Postman collection. Like every year, they do pretty much some course material, and they do presentations at Summit. Every year, they have an updated version of the Postman collection. This is going to have countless examples of how you can interface with Acumatica. It's a pretty big topic. You definitely need a lot more than a half an hour to go through and get a comprehensive understanding of that. But if you want to automate Acumatica via agents, you're either going to need to find someone that has these skills, or you're going to need to build these skills yourself. Um, let's see what else I have in here. All right, Postman. This is essentially your tool of um, being able to get in and explore. So if you do look at that GitHub repository, you're gonna be able to download a collection of API samples. And very often you could take one of those examples and just slightly tweak it out to like point to another entity. Like, let's say, for example, you have something that creates an inventory item. Well, you can take that as kind of an example and shift it over to another entity to create something else. The formatting is very similar, and you could just like duplicate that Postman and just tweak it out to fit exactly what you need. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use Postman to kind of pull together what it is that you need. And one of the things that you're going to want to do at the end of the day is um, let me move this out of the way. One of the things is you have this, you have a code export over here. And
Hey, Robert, I just want to let you know you
yes,
have about 4 minutes left, and you do have a couple questions in the chat.
okay.
Okay.
I will see those. Grabbing this curl statement here is gonna help out with a lot of this. Um, and there's tooling in there where you're going to be able to drop the curl statement directly into a HTTP request node, and it's going to just drop everything in place, and then you just drag and drop a couple variables in place in terms of like what dynamically needs to change for any of these prompts. But let's go find those questions. So I'm not going to be able to get too deep into any of the stuff. Okay, so can N8N agents collaborate with one another in coordinated fashion? Yes, that's what I mentioned in terms of pulling together a orchestrator agent, where you're going to create a handful of um, you're gonna essentially create many AI agents, and each agent is going to do one particular job really well, and all it's going to do is just that one job. And the job of the orchestrator is to tie them all together into like one master prompt, and then it will use other agents as tools to get in there. Let me see if I have anything else in here. For example, could a gatekeeper agent process incoming requests and route them on the fly to a specialized billing agent? Yeah, that's all. That's all on the topic of creating an orchestrator agent. That's the official term for it. And essentially, what you're doing is you're creating several agents, each agent doing one job really well, and then you have a orchestrator agent that's going to call on all of these other agents and dispatch work to its sub agents at the end. Okay, does N8N connect with the small large language models, or do you have any exposure to that use case for Acumatica? Small language models, yeah, you can have large language models that are running on your local machine. So if you are concerned about data privacy and so forth, um, there are there are things that can run locally, and you can tie into that localized agent. Ultimately, you're going to want to have a localized N8N instance so that it's able to access your local resources. So, I mean, if you have a publicly exposed agent such as this, this is out on the cloud. It's not going to have permissions to get through the firewall and do stuff on your local machine. You're going to want to do this here and then use that. But there are numerous agents, LLMs that you can use, and it's pretty agnostic.
All right. Well, we're at the end of our time. We want to thank Aldrich for being a sponsor for this session today, and thank you, Robert, for all the great information. And I don't know if you want to answer a few of those questions in the chat, but I know the next session will be starting in about 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. The next question is, can developers use custom code tooling or integrate with frameworks like LangChain with N8N? LangChain, you could go directly to LangChain. There's LangChain nodes that you can use that will help you do that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, anything that you can write code for, you're going to be able to engage. Essentially, if you're doing custom code, you're probably going to want to create an endpoint that that N8N is going to have access to, and then you just do a HTTP request node on it and generate that as a tool, and then you're able to fire your custom code. What you can also do with a localized instance of N8N, you can also run command line. And anything that you could run with a command line, you're going to be able to run with N8N on a localized instance. So you could spin up a console application that's going to take a couple parameters, and N8N could send those parameters to a console application. But you do also have the code node. So let me go to that real quick. So you have the code tool in here. You are limited in terms of languages in here. You got to do it either JavaScript or Python, but you can embed code directly into your workflow there. But if you're a C# developer and you want to use C#, you're going to want to create an endpoint to fire something off and give it, just construct your own security in there so that you have like a bearer token of some sort, and have N8N use that bearer token to get in and securely access whatever endpoint that you have. Again, if you want to send off some command line utilities, use a localized instance and use a command line tool and grant access that way. So like if you do like a console application, you could pull the string of whatever results from that command line utility back into N8N to process whatever information. So let's see what else we have in terms of questions. Yes.
We've got to wrap it up
Okay.
now and get people
All
up
right,
to
no
the
problem.
next session. So thank you so much.
No problem. All right. Pleasure speaking about this, and thanks for having me as a host.
Thank you.